Welcome to our section on body composition. This is also another reason why physical fitness is so important, so that we can have a healthy body as well as a mind that we talked about in our last lesson, but body composition is a big part of it as well. People with optimal body composition, they tend to be healthier, they move more efficiently, and they feel better about themselves. So what is body composition? Body composition is the amount of fat versus the non-fat makeup of the human. So your muscles, your bones, your versus fat versus that. The fat mass is the amount of the adipose fat or the fat tissue in the body. So it's just the fat tissue. And then the lean mass is the body tissue that is not fat. So that includes muscles, bones, blood, organs, and other tissues. Okay. Fat mass, like we talked about, fat is stored just beneath the surface of the skin. That's called subcutaneous fat, and that's distributed around other parts of the body, specifically vital organs, and that's visceral fat, the others that go to the specific organs. Now, half of fat mass is subcutaneous, so just under the skin. That's half of it. It provides a cushion and it helps regulate body temperature, so it's needed. Some of it's needed, but not as much as needed as probably what a lot of people carry around. Now, look at the picture here. Both of that, the yellow one is fat and the other one's a muscle. They are both 5 pounds. Look at the size difference in that. Fat is just bigger and than muscle, and so that's why you can see overweight and fat comes off and you can lose a lot of weight. It slims down quite a bit because fat is just so much bigger than muscle. Now, there are essential fats that you need. It is essential for the body function. It's for heart, brain, lungs, liver, nerves, and other body parts. So you need fat. Everyone always thinks of fat such a negative thing, but fat is needed. It's essential. Now, for men, it's about 3% essential fat, and for women, it's about 12%. You'll see that chart there that's kind of telling us different categories that people fall under, and where their percentages need to be. So look at that for a second. You can figure out if you're an athlete, if you're just a fitness, if you don't do it and you're just acceptable. You can kind of look and see where you need to be. And you'll also notice that it's different for men and women. Now, there's excess fat, and fat in excess, that's what I'm meaning is fat in excess of the essential fats. You need the essential fats, but then there's the excess fat as well. And a lot of this can be determined, by hereditary or age, metabolism. Things change as you develop in life, as well as you have your hereditary that causes it. Now, it's primarily influenced by diet and activity, and that's where this class comes into play, is to help with that diet and activity. There's the optimal fat percentages we talked about here, men 15 and women 22. Above that, you'll see you're categorized men as 25% as obese and women 32%. And we're going to learn as we continue on different ways that we can measure these to know where we're at. Overweight versus overfat. We've talked about both. Now, overweight, all it takes into consideration is a person's total body weight in relationship to height and frame. It does not take into account the relationship of fat mass and lean mass that we talked about. So really, this way is not very accurate, and it is a very, very, very poor way to measure health. It's definitely better to measure fat mass and lean mass to know what your health is. We've talked about overweight. Now, this is overfat, and that refers to the actual percentage of body mass made up of adipose tissue. When the percentage of fat reaches a level that compromises health, and a person is referred to that as overfat. Now, fatness is much more meaningful indicator of health status and cannot be measured with a height weight chart. This relationship of fat to lean tissue is called body composition, and that's where we're going to focus and see different ways to measure that. There's tons of assessment tools that we're just going to kind of go over to give you a little knowledge base of it and all the different types and what it's really trying to do. Before we get into that, you'll see here's another range of body fat classifications, male and female, where you need to be. You can come back and relate to this and look at it and see where you fall in the category. Now, obesity, these are the risk factors that come with it. It's a very real thing. It provides, it gives you risk factors of stroke, depression, cancer, respiratory problems, coronary heart disease, a lot of things obesity causes, and that's another reason it's so important to keep ourselves healthy and fit, is to avoid all of these risk factors. Now, assessing your body composition. It is a valuable tool in developing a plan for good health. So it is very good to create a good plan and good health. Some measurements that they use here, the tools, are more accurate than others, so just be aware of that. And the measures displayed on slides are considered indirect measurements of body composition. So the only direct measure to actually get a full body composition is to actually dissect a person and weigh out the various tissues, which is clearly not practical. So we're not doing that tool, and nor should you do that tool, but that's really the only 100% accurate way to determine the body composition in an individual. The first one is hydrostatic weighing, and what this is, you'll see the guy, he's down in the water. This one's considered the most accurate method of using body composition. It's not done a lot because it takes a big tool, you got to get in the water, but you submerge your body totally in the water, and what it's doing is just measuring your weight in the water. And then they're able to take it from there and find your body composition. What they do here is your lean muscle, it's actually higher density and it tends to sink. Body fat, lower density, tends to float. So the heavier the person in the water, the less fat and more muscle. Experienced technicians, they have the special equipment that helps them do this. But subject must be comfortable with being in water. You got to go, you got to hold your breath, you got to stay underwater so that they can weigh you. But that's how they're able to do this. There's also the Skinfold measurements, which is more of a common one because it's a small tool, what you do. But what you're doing is you measure fat folds. You can see there that they're measuring fat folds along the body. And it does correlation with the hydrostatic weighing. It's more accurate than other measurements and tools, not as accurate as the first one, but it is fairly accurate. Now, the site for men's that they do is they do the chest, abdomen, and thighs. And then for women, it's the triceps, the supralium, and the thigh. This one is definitely more of a practical approach on measuring your body composition, and you can find these ACU measurements really anywhere. Now there's the bioelectric impedance analysis. This is the small electrode measurements. They're undetectable, really, electrical currents, but they go through the body, so they're running electricity through you pretty much, and this is how it works. So when it goes through muscle, body water, electricity flows easily. Its resistance is low, it goes through very easy. If it's fat, which is an insulator, the electricity does not flow through it. The resistance is very high, and that's how they're able to figure out your body composition. Here's some of those tools. It shows here you hold the bands on the side, and the fat tissue, like I said, it contains little water. Water is a good conductor of electricity, and so as you hold this, it's able to take that and run through your body and see. It tends to overestimate body fat in a very lean individual and underestimate body fat in obese individuals. So this one is used. It's not as accurate as the others, but it's still going to get you in the ballpark of where you are. Now there's the air displacement. This one is accurate, however, it is very expensive and it's not done often. But it measures the air displacement and it measures changes in pressures within the closed chamber. And so it changes in there, and they're able to do the mass and volume of a whole body and the density of that inside of the equipment. But the equipment is very expensive, and so it's done very rarely. Body mass index, you hear that, BMI. It's a measure of your body mass, not body composition. So it's different here. It uses your height and your weight compared to the mortality rates. Okay, so they do use the mortality rates to figure out the height and weight and go from there. A good predictor of disease, it helps to determine disease, hypertension, high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease, and so forth. It may be misleading, just be aware for those who are very low or very high in muscle mass, but body mass index is a great way as well to measure health. So here is the BMI formula, and let's go over it here for a minute. What you do, BMI formula is your weight divided by your height squared. So you take your weight in pounds and you divide it by 2.2. That gives you your weight in kilograms, and that's what it needs to be in, is in kilograms. And then you take your height and you times it by 0.0254 because you're going to meters. And you'll see in the example, so if you're 6'1", you're 73 inches. So if you're 73 inches, first what you do is you take your pounds. You take your 210 pounds and you divide it by 2.2. That gives you your 95.45. That's your weight in kilograms. So now you need to find your height. So you do your 73 inches times the 0.0254, and that gives you 1.85. Now remember that height has to be squared, and so we take the 1.85 and we times it by 1.85 again. So ultimately in the end you're going to take your weight in kilograms, 95.45, and you're going to divide it by 3.24, which is your height, and that's going to give you your BMI, or your body mass index. Body composition, just a little kind of knowledge for you. Where men generally store fat is in the abdominal area, and that's kind of an apple shaped, and women generally have it in their hips and thighs. Now individuals with higher levels of visceral fat, the visceral fat is fat in the stomach, they are actually at a higher risk for health problems than those with larger subcutaneous fat, so under the skin. So if fat is storing in the stomach, that actually puts people at a higher risk of health problems. And it is a sign that health professionals look for, is where that fat is being stored. If excessive body weight or overfatness is determined, individuals should pursue weight loss through exercise and proper eating plan to ensue fat loss, because it can cause a lot of health issues. Now, what is proper weight loss? This slide, I want you to really focus on and take this with you, because it's important. We want to be as healthy as possible and keep ourselves as fit as possible, but it's very important that we are smart and know really what health is. Like I said, it's not a number on the scale. It's definitely not a number on the scale, and it's not even the size of jeans that you fit in, because each person is different. Each person has different hereditary, each person makeup is different. Your body is just made up differently. So it's very important that you understand this here. Proper weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds per week. It shouldn't be more than that. It should be a slow, steady weight loss. And you reduce calories and you increase the activity. Really, but at the end of the day, the equation is very simple. If you're working more calories than putting more calories in your body, you're going to lose weight. If you're putting more calories in your body instead of burning those calories, you're going to gain weight. And that's really as easy as the equation gets. But be realistic based on your body. Like I said, a lot of things determine how you should be and what you're going to be. Reassess your body composition periodically, and it will help you to see your health and where you are going. That's it for body composition. Know that being healthy is part of body composition. It's not all of it. Body composition is just a way to identify and help you create a healthy lifestyle and know the changes that need to be made. Till next unit, we'll see you later.